Howdy, howdy, world.
Hello.
It's us. We're here. And immediately, having said, hey, we're just going to play one shots of games, we have a game that's going to need more than one session. Immediately. It's almost like we have ADHD. Almost. So today's game clearly is Godkiller. Who is going to explain this game?
I can have a crack at it. I do. Yeah. I was like, I don't know if we actually mentioned like how often we're going to do this or anything, but I'm just reminded of the guy I look at on TikTok who does like comic book stuff, and he started doing what he was referred to as like a weekly thing where he goes through this book called it's like a book of regrettable superheroes, and then he actually decides if they're actually regrettable or not.
Oh yeah.
But obviously it wasn't weekly. So now the introduction is he goes, it's the weekly, not weekly show.
It
and
is.
I was just like, I don't know if we actually, it's like, not only do we not give like a timeline, but we also, we did say it was like, it's the one shot.
It's the one shot that we do monthly.
It's the one shot we do. Well, it's not monthly. It's not one shot.
It's not one shot. We play games that are fun.
We're going to do it's going to be a fortnightly campaign within like a year.
Yes.
Godkiller, however, is as I said, is the one. And I think I was really interested because like you sent like a list of like of things, and I did. And I thought this was really interesting because it's specifically it's a powered by apocalypse game, specifically for two people.
Yes, correct.
So one person is the titular Godkiller, and the other one is the GM.
Yeah.
But at one point is referred to as the God of Gods. You are the God.
Yes.
It's like, does that mean that like at the end of whatever the thing is, you have to kill the GM? Like, is that the campaign?
I wasn't going to say anything until we got to that point. But you asked me if I wanted to be the GM, and I said no.
No, I know what that is. I don't want it.
Yeah, you can have it.
But it is, yeah. So it's essentially this. It's like a post-apocalyptic setting where something has happened to what they refer to as the river, which is the home of the gods, where it essentially dried up and left the gods stranded on Earth, or the cradle, and they've been steadily losing their power until they realized that if they killed another god and then consumed them, they would get their power. And then things got bad. It didn't go great. Yeah. So you've got this like abundance of gods who are both need to like maintain, like they're nourished by what's the terminology? They're nourished by, they've got a hunger, so they have a thing that they need to nourish them. But then also, if they can, that's like their food, but they are also just running out of time, which they can extend by killing other gods. And then, but only gods can kill gods until recently, when the Godkiller kills a god, and suddenly there's a mortal who can kill a god, and that throws everything into question, and that's where you literally start at that first kill.
Yes.
And then sort of go from there. And as I said, it's powered by the apocalypse. At the moment, I think the rules that we're using are sort of like...
They're like the quick...
it's kind of like a quick play version. Like they're pretty complete. Like, to be fair, like
it's a full game. But it's also the first iteration of this game.
Yeah. But I think it's, and I had to look this up, and I was like, because it's obviously powered by the apocalypse. I was like, yeah, powered by apocalypse. That's been around since like 14 years. Cool. That's not
that long.
Awful to learn.
It's still a baby system, technically.
And one of the things is been interesting is like, obviously a lot of other games took on that system, but the initial games were very much like pretty much exactly how it worked. They tweaked it, they changed it, the setting, they made it like, they changed the moves to work for whatever setting they needed to go. But as we've gone over, like other games have been like, okay, but I don't need to use exactly, I'm going to take the concept and like, what can I do with that? And then you get your sort of like your Monster Hearts and your sort of other things.
Yes.
And I think it's interesting that this one, because one of the cool things, it's like the Powered by Apocalypse, it's like you roll 2 dice and you add the stat that goes with this. There's no stats. There's no stats to add.
Well, you
Really.
no, not really, not fully.
And so it's and in fact, a lot of the moves, like the mortal moves, because there's mortal moves, divine moves, what is it, crucible moves, and renown moves.
Yes.
The mortal moves aren't rolled. They're just you pick you do. There's 2 options. You have to do one, but you get the other one.
Well, even then, it's like the narrative is that both of us are crafting this story very much together. So
Yeah.
it's not roles. It's a case of like, how are you? If I say, how am I rewarded? Well, I get what I want out of it. Okay, so what? What's the
Yeah.
flip side of this?
I mean,
Is that what you want? You didn't like it. Uh-oh.
you joked about how like it ends with you killing the GM. It is very much like it's very much against that idea of the GM as the antagonist. This is not.
Yes.
This is very, which is Powered by Apocalypse. Initially, had that whole always had that great was the suggestion of that the person running the game should be a fan of the players.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think was
Yeah.
the way they put it. But the divine moves are the ones, and the other thing I think is interesting is traditionally in the Powered by Apocalypse, it's like your 10 plus is a complete success.
Yeah.
7 to 9 is like
Is
partial
a
success,
partial
and then
success.
6 or down is fail. Where in this one, 7 to 9 is your success.
Yes.
6 and below is you didn't get quite what you wanted, or it's like it's a fail. You could be a fail, but it could be like
It could just be fail forward sort of thing.
but then 10 or above is overkill.
Yeah.
You've gone too far.
You did it. You did it. Turns out that whole like having
Yeah.
divine power. Oh, it works.
It kicked off, and
You
now
got to be careful.
and it's not like each move doesn't have like add a stat. It's got like 3 things. As an example, like the inflict violence, it's you roll 2d6 and then you add 1 for each true statement.
Yes.
They wish you harm, you're desperate, it's personal.
So those are your stats.
Those are the
stats come in.
stats.
The stats are entirely contextual, and the stats are entirely situational, and I love that about this.
And it's different for each thing, which I think is very interesting. I think and it's like it's different again for the crucible moves. The crucible moves are the more traditional fail, partial success, full success.
Yes. But they're also the things that are the most
those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones. But also it's interesting from a perspective overall of you don't use a move unless you meet the criteria to start with. Otherwise, it's just a thing that happens and you just narrate through it. It's if you find that you're hitting those true statements, that's when you're inflicting violence.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like it's so specific.
And there's stuff where it talks about like, obviously some situations might be, it could go different. There's different moves it might be. It's like, well, what's your intent? Which is the same in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
But like, there's also a degree of like
questions.
Every combat isn't inflict violence. Like it could just be.
Yeah, exactly.
Every there's a lot of stuff about like there's also an interesting example because you get divinity, and there's a whole thing about like your divinity is either active or passive depending on what you've done. But their example
dormant.
is like
awakened or dormant. Yeah.
But it's like it's always there. It's a thing you sort of like is a narrative consideration in many ways.
Yes.
And then it's very interesting. It's going to be so the first session, as they make the point, is essentially we're going to be sort of collaboratively building the world, as it were, and also obviously the character, the Godkiller. And then we sort of have that moment we sort of in media res this like that initial kill. And they, because the options are when you have that the god at your mercy, your option is to kill the god or spare the god, and there's different things for that. And they make the point that like on every other occasion that should be like a sort of choice. It's a really you have to like have to weigh that up, which one I'm going to do. And they go, but we recommend you kill them on the first. The first one should be a kill.
Just kill your first one. Just get them down. Get them down. Get them done. Get it out the way.
I do
kind of already have that feeling of having killed.
I also appreciate the fact that like the first time it happens, the character wouldn't be clear on what then happened, but then they see the ripples of what happened. They go, do I want to do that again? That's okay. I've fundamentally changed everything, and I'm
fundamentally changed.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I need to really think about this next time.
Absolutely.
So it's very. First thing, I think we build the character first and then build the world, or is it the other way around? Or does it not matter? I don't know.
I'm wondering that as well. Me personally, when I'm building a character, I prefer to know about the world before I build a character in it. But I feel like it's almost a like simultaneous thing. How about if I choose an origin, then we go from there, because that'll tell us a bit about the world.
Yes. And you can sort of go back. I'm looking at it and I'm like, I think it's like, it probably doesn't matter. You probably just do it.
Oh, it doesn't matter all that much.
Whichever way. And it's whichever way is going to work best for the people playing the game. But is there, because there's 4 origins to pick, is there one that you are particularly keen on, or is there?
So I immediately thought the Wronged seems fun.
Yeah.
So for me, it's either the Wronged or the Godling. Like, so it's either revenge or it's like secret child. Odds for Wronged, evens for secret child. Odd it is. I will be wrathful.
No. So you are the Wronged. The Wronged seeks revenge. Your divinity is fearsome, dark, and hard to control. Do you want to answer the questions now, or do you want to build the crucible and then answer the questions?
No, let's answer them now. Let's get that out of the way.
Okay. What tragedy did you alone survive?
A tsunami.
Oh, interesting.
A tsunami took my entire town, village. Used to be a small fishing village. My parents had sent me to the next village to sell some meager catch that we'd caught. The fish had been small recently, but it's what we got. Why do I blame myself? Something in the air told me that this was coming. And rather than go out and say, hey, I think we should leave, something doesn't feel right, I left. Moment of cowardice. that said, well, shit. Who's really responsible?
Was it so you said you were sent to sell the Mega Cash? Was it like they were deciding who was going to go, and you sort of volunteer? Like, oh, I'll go, I'll do it, I will take.
Yes. Yeah. I assumed that it was just me having bad vibes.
Yeah.
And thought, okay, well, if I get out of the town, then it's not going to be so much of a problem.
You just need to get out, clear your head.
Get out, clear my head, it'll be okay.
And then, but who's really responsible?
I feel like some kind of ocean deity. Both for, and that responsibility is both the, like, playing with the heads of the people in the town, like starting out giving them loads of fish and being like, yeah, this is, you have this huge town that's booming that has this incredible fish that we've got here, and then we're going to make the downturn gradual enough that people think that it's a downturn and could swing upward and could return to, being a flourishing village again, but instead sends a tsunami as like a, well, wiping it off the map. We're done with this shit. I don't know the name of the deity, but I feel like it was an ocean deity who just made a decision.
Yeah. I mean, it could easily have been on a whim, or it could have been like
It could have been that somewhere else in
collateral
the
for something
world,
else.
yeah, it could be like somewhere else in the world, like they needed rain on their crops, and so fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, goodbye to this town.
Yeah. Gods are capricious, and mortals mean very little to them in the
Exactly.
grand scheme of things.
It could have been I decided to play croquet. Like, it could be anything.
Yeah. What if there is a... Interesting. So, you get from your origin, you get the divine trigger, which is the thing that you need to do to fully awaken your divinity. And then obviously they make the point that divinity is either like passive or active. When it's active, you have options, but like doing any of those things sets it back to passive, and then you. But your trigger is when you turn to violence against someone who slanders or mocks your pain.
Mm-hmm.
You awaken your divinity. And then the mortal trigger, which is when you sort of connect obviously to your more mortal side, it sort of heals you.
Yes.
It's like when you share your hidden pain with someone who has broken your trust, you clear all strain. Strain is sort of health in a way. Once you take 5, you don't necessarily die because you're the protagonist.
No. Well, you might.
You could.
It's kind of like every Powered by the Apocalypse game where it's like, you get to this point, do you wish to continue?
Yeah.
Like you died and then you just restart. It's a Souls-like.
Yeah. It's just that, do you continue Y/S?
Yeah.
Cool. There's other, so we'll as I said, we'll do the sort of the building the cradle bit. But there's the other things to do for the making the characters. There's the covenants.
Yes.
Where you'll have, I want to say 3 different gods that you form covenants with, and there's a different essentially relationships with the gods.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's, you know, basic name and rest of stuff, and more sort of like fleshing it out. But the covenants are probably the one we'll go back to once we have a better sense of the world. So for creating, where is it? First session. There it is. So the cradle is what they refer to as where the mortals lived. It's the sort of the earth, essentially. And so the first task is to sort of fleshing out the Godkiller's home. And so we start with, was it 5? Is it 5 questions? It is 5 questions. So Shauntelle, as the player, you start by answering a question of your choosing from the list, and then I will answer a question of my choosing. No. Yes? Yes.
Maybe.
I'll answer.
Which page are we on?
34.
34 thing.
I think it's yes. Sorry. They italicized there, and I was like, are you saying it's my choice, or it's like the italicized? I think it's pretty sure you choose a question to answer, then I choose a question to answer.
Yeah. Yes.
And we just go back and forth. But what they italicized there, and I was like, maybe the player always chooses.
No.
I was like, no, that doesn't.
No.
It just threw me for a moment. But that's fine. Yeah. So which one are you looking to?
Who is my closest friend, and why can they never truly understand me? Oh no, I don't want to do that question. Sorry, stopping that in its tracks. What god rules my home, and what must I tithe to them in exchange? I guess that's, yeah. What god rules my home?
Is it the ocean deity, or is that?
Well, I'm just wondering. I think so. Yeah, it's the ocean deity. And despite what they did, we still have to give. I think I feel like it's like the sweat on our brows because it's salt water. So hard work. We still have to give hard work. It's still part of worship.
Is it just like, is it referred to as like tithing their salt?
Ooh, it is now.
Oh. What group of mortals or monsters threatens your home, and what god do they serve? There is a essentially they're like a roaming band of marauders in practice, in like definitely from like your perspective, I guess, from like the town's perspective, there'd be a roaming band of marauders.
Also bearing in mind, sorry, that I don't think there is anyone left in the town.
No,
Are you talking about beforehand or
this is beforehand, but it's also just like this area in general.
I see. Yes.
So they were a threat to your specific village, but also in this like general, the surrounding villages as well. These are a problem. because they seem to just be moving around a lot. And the biggest problem is the thing that they mainly they don't just take like supplies. They don't just raid for like food and whatever else, though they do take that sometimes as well. The big problem is that they will come in and they will take children. And it does seem like initially kind of just seems random. Like it's not just one it's like it's different play. It seems kind of random, but there's been a sort of like talk that maybe it's not maybe quite so random. They're targeting specific people essentially. That there's like there is reason behind what they're doing, or like there is like a plan or something. They're not just picking a place and being like, oh, our first child will be fine, because usually it's only like one, or they don't just come in and just take all the kids and just leave.
Do they have a name?
Because I know which god they serve, and I'm trying to think of how.
Which god do they serve?
So the god they serve, I'll try and think of an actual name, but like the god they serve is which is like, it's something that's only recently become apparent, which is part of the reason of like, oh, actually there might be a plan to this. Is to their followers, and probably almost initially they were referred to as like the teacher or the great educator. More recently, to those who oppose them, or to those who are who try to stand against them, they are referred to as the orphan maker.
Ooh, yeah.
And that was the connection of like, oh, the god is specifically called the orphan maker.
Here we go.
Their followers are stealing children.
Yeah.
This feels less. That's probably less random.
This is a problem. Yeah.
I was really tempted to call them all just the Board of Education, but like, I was just like, oh no.
I mean, look, it's hard to.
I've sort of said it now. Like, it can't not have that.
The Board of Education.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of works, doesn't it? Hey. I'm going to describe the beautiful place in the cradle that I call home, and what about it is broken. This character never left where they call home. They came back to everything destroyed. And after a really big storm, hurricanes, even floods, big storms, it's just crystal clear blue skies. Like, just after a storm, for whatever reason, crystal clear blue, beautiful skies, sun shines down. This village, since the tsunami, has looked pristine and beautiful, but this character spent a lot of time essentially turning the whole place into a graveyard. It is the most beautiful graveyard. Everyone has been buried and well remembered. But people are starting to forget the village existed.
Okay.
And it's funny, we'll come back to, because one of the covenants that I wanted to make kind of now.
Yeah.
fits very well with what you just said. And the killer lives literally on the beach, practically alone.
You mean, sorry, as in you, the Godkiller?
Yes.
Right. And not the killer of
I don't
the
have a
village.
name.
Yeah.
No, not the killer
But I
of
was
the village.
like, oh yeah, the god's just over there. They're just like,
But
they're just
yeah,
chilling.
that god, that one, bitch.
Their heart is just some dude fishing.
Yeah. Fuck you. So yeah, so every now and then there will just be this person that's out in a boat fishing to find what food is possible to find, or growing or foraging what food there is to forage or grow, but has never left and is the only original survivor of that village.
Yeah.
And it's
people
beautiful.
people are like,
stunning.
are they like they're literally forgetting that there was a village there?
Yeah,
to begin
because
with.
it was washed off the map.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, oh yeah, that guy's always just been alone out there. And it's like, sure. Have they always been alone out there like last week? And they went, see, wait. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But I also feel like this happened when the Godkiller was a kid and has had to grow up this way.
Right.
I don't have a name for this character yet.
Um, hmm. Who is the local heretic, and how are they humiliated or punished every day?
They have cabbages and they just keep getting destroyed.
Look, that things work out for that guy. It's fine.
Yeah.
He becomes immensely wealthy, which I did think was quite funny. He starts a company called Cabbage Co. or Cabbage Corp or something like that.
Cabbage Corp.
And it's like one of the there's one of the comics. I think there's a comic which is like acts as a kind of like a bit of a bridge between like the Aang and the Korra one. It's like you see there's a bunch of like the tech that ends up coming around is done by Cabbage Corp.
I love it. I love it. Good for him.
I'm imagining someone who growing up, not necessarily from your village, because everyone's in your village is dead, but in that surrounding area,
but other people, other people would come through. There's
a bunch
resources
of
and things. Like it's not like
there's other fishing villages as well around, and they probably all go to like this like a hub area that they can. But there's this one person that everyone like you growing up is like, oh, that's this crazy person. We don't like we're trying to help, but it's like they're punning. You're like, no, hang on.
It's not.
They don't forget. So they've been talking for a while about villages that you were told don't exist. He's making them up. And you have now since been like, well, hang on. Because one of those places is now your home.
Yeah.
And he is also he warns about like that this like pattern of becoming reliant on this fish, building up a place, and then ultimately getting wiped out.
Yes,
has happened like numerous times previously. But then everyone just forgets.
Yes.
And so he's sort of like he's desperately trying to tell people this is not, and
Don't
is
let it
essentially
go.
is just treated like the town, like the local loon. Like
Yeah.
everyone kind of is just like, it's a mix of like at best it's pity, but at worst it's like they're ostracized. Children throw things at them sometimes. They're being
Yeah.
if they wish to be cruel, kind of thing. And like as you have come to this the realization that suddenly that realization is on you, you just see this like desperate person
Yeah.
who for whatever reason doesn't just leave. They haven't left. They're trying to convince everyone, but they have
He's
having
doing
this.
the exact opposite of what I did.
Yeah, but also it's like they've not. This person was like your parents knew about this person when they were growing up. So it's like they've been doing this for a while, and so there's also a degree of like, why doesn't he leave? And then there's also a degree of like, it's not that sort of like crazy old loon, but it's like, yeah, but he was a crazy old loon for my parents.
Yeah.
And I think my grandparents might have also been a crazy old loon. Hang on. What?
Generational crazy old loon?
So it's
Was his
like,
dad a crazy old
it's
loon?
like, is it like it's just one or is the punishment not the ostracization? Is the fact is like you have to watch.
You have to watch
You
everything.
have to watch and you have to remember.
So it's humiliation and punishment.
Yeah. The humiliation is from the mortal side. The punishment is like, that might be from a deity.
Does he look very old?
He looks like this sort of like a crazy old person like screaming on the street, on whatever street corner he happens to be on. And it is like, again, the more you sort of like have recently sort of had this sort of revelation, being like, hang on. That's how my parents described him as a child. That's like I've heard my grandparents, and you're like, and part of it, if you ever had thought of it previously, you're like, oh, it's different people, and now you're like,
you assume it's different.
Whoa, what if it's not different people?
Okay, very very Greek style. Tiresias eyes, like everything, sees everything, nobody believes.
I don't know for sure, but like, because you can sort of you can delve into the how. It's like as a sort of leave it as like a dangling hook that can
leave it as a dangle.
But one of the things to mention is that the gods can curse.
Yes.
And so sometimes you might end up cursed or cursed because of things, and the curse is always thou shalt not something.
So if it's thou shalt not die,
it's like thou shalt not forget, because they can also be quite broad. So it's like you can't die, because if you died, you'd stop remembering as well.
Yeah.
So now you can't die.
Yeah, right. Faye rules on this. Okay.
So it's like, because that's the other thing about it, is like they talk about that with the curses, but also I think it's just called powers. Like the gods have powers.
Yes.
And when you kill the god, you get the power.
You get the power.
But the power can also just be very broadly interpreted. It's like it'll be like siphoning or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can take that. I think the example they use is like, there's one example time they use siphon as an example, it's another time they use hellfire as an example, but it's both times that it's like it's a really broad interpretation of what that meant.
Yes.
But also that's the point.
Exactly.
Because they're gods, they aren't quite so limited.
Yes. Okay. Oh. So we've done the first. Oh, we've done all of them except the closest friend.
Yes.
Who is my closest friend? I think my closest friend is someone who the Board of Education failed to take.
Oh, okay.
There was one kid in a nearby village who managed to escape and whose village is still intact. Whether those two things are connected, don't know. But village is still intact. They can never truly, huh?
So I had a thought that I might just put. I don't know if I'll share. I might just leave that as a note and be like,
Okay. Ooh,
this might be why.
This could be why. And they can never truly understand what it's like to lose. Like, Orphan Maker didn't make them an orphan.
Yeah.
Neither did the ocean deity. Nobody took anything from them. They can't understand. Like, they might understand the sense of power that it feels when you manage to evade things like that happening, but you don't understand loss in the same way.
Yeah. Degree of like survival privilege or something. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's almost like the stuff like, oh yeah, we've had like hard times. It's like, no, I don't think you
Yeah.
understand.
I feel like I need a name starting with T specifically for whatever reason. This character has a T name. Be Tobias. Toby.
Cool.
Okay.
Is that yeah. Interesting. I'm imagining. I think something else with the that sets the Board of Education apart from just like other, like they're thought of as marauders, but they're clearly more. I mean, for lack of a better word, like they bet, like they're more organized. They're more sort of like they're not. Other ones are like these sort of raiders who have like scrapped together some gear. These guys, it's almost like the difference between like someone mugging you on the street, and then like a private military contractor telling you to leave your home. Like,
Right. And we have that second one here.
and it's like there probably are like roaming highwaymen and whatever, but they're not. The Board of Education is like initially it was like, oh, it's another one of them, but it's like no, they're like really well equipped and they clearly know what they're doing. Like,
was there a point where did it start that way, or did it become that way?
It's become that way.
Mm-hmm.
And um so it's sort of like maybe maybe they've been rewarded for success, and they've sort of um
Mm.
So you were mentioning you had some ideas now for the covenants.
I did. I had one idea, and I scribbled it down while you were changing page. And I feel like now it kind of works. The covenant of bitterness. You resent this god. What golden, beautiful thing do they have that you desperately want? It's the god of childhood and youth.
Okay.
The golden, beautiful thing they have that I desperately want is innocence.
Damn.
Just so happened that I wrote that down, and then like literally just
You're like, this fits. This works.
this all fits now. Um what is okay. I feel like
So you can there is like the appendix at the back. You can look at some of those to see if any of those spring to mind. It's definitely what I did with the Orphan Maker.
Let me check the appendix.
There's just a list of example gods, I guess, that you could sort of.
What page are we? Oh, here we go. Oh, no. Oh, okay, cool. Oh, that's a good one. The Way Home. Because I was thinking Covenant of Lust. But it's like lust for security and safety, not necessarily like sexual lust.
Yeah.
Lust for comfort.
So, but what foolish thing have you done to make them notice you?
At one point, I tried to rebuild some of the huts, knowing that nobody would move in. But I tried to remake them exactly as I remembered them, not in a way that would make sense now.
Right.
And that caught their notice. Or I suppose if not lust for home and security, then lust for the past or lust for what's gone now. think from a... I think there has to be like a covenant with a god to teach. But covenant of tutelage. Maybe at some point I did study under the Board of Education. Because I feel like there has to be a covenant of tutelage because I was turned into an orphan. So who's going to look after the orphan while they are finding their feet again? Maybe another aspect of that same god.
Yeah.
Does that fit what you've got in your head?
It could, certainly. Like, it's not so detailed. I'm thinking that there is some kind of not connection, but like between the to be named ocean deity and the orphan maker. But at the same time, like,
Alternatively,
because also this like the tutelage could have happened after, because you were just a child.
Yes.
So the tutelage could have happened after your village was lost.
Yes. Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So this is someone that presumably taught this character how to handle divine power or how to manage it.
Like purposefully or
with intention. So far as they can, because they're not a god, so full control is hard.
Yeah.
Especially when they're driven by revenge.
Because you haven't had that divinity spark yet.
This is true.
That happens after you kill your first god.
This is true. So then maybe I don't want to go with Covenant of Grief. I feel like it's too... But maybe the Covenant of Terror.
I mean, the Covenant of Grief could be something where it's like you tried to find, because you've got you are the wronged. You're sort of in part way fueled by like wrath or something.
Yes.
There could have been a moment where you initially tried to find a god that is of revenge or of something along those lines, and you were like, I've heard of this god before. I'm going to go find them, and I'll like I will devote myself to you. I will make this, and for whatever. But I just want revenge. And then when you found them, they were dead.
Yeah. Where is the god of revenge, and how must I now also avenge the god of revenge?
And you were just like, I will give whatever I need to. You were like planning to give whatever you needed to, and then you found out, no, they're dead. It's like, well, fuck. Guess I have to do it myself.
Literally have to do everything. It's only going to make you angrier, you know. It's only going to make you angrier. You're like, I'm going to take revenge on these people. It's going to be great.
It's like, the best revenge is a life well lived, maybe. But have you also considered murder?
The best revenge is a life well lived. Well, you've already ruined that part for me. So like, what now?
Yeah, but what's the second best? What's the second best revenge? Oh, violence. Just brutal violence.
Just brutal violence. I'm going to get my feelings out like this.
I mean, it could be like as a small child, like finding out that there is a corpse of a god. Which, to be fair,
just seeing the corpse of a god washed up on the beach.
Because there's like the point that the one of the things is like this place is covered in the corpses of gods. Like there are so many gods still, but there were many more previously, most of which are now dead. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you knew that.
Mm.
And so the thing you could have learned is like, oh, gods die.
Gods can die.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
And that could have
And
been the thing you could have, like, the secret that you've learned is like, well, maybe I can. That was that initial spark thought that's like has led you now to.
yeah. Gods can die. And if they can die, then maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
Maybe I could avenge family, friends. Who killed the god of revenge? Oh, it's it's like a whole Who Killed Mr. Burns scenario.
It's like, I mean,
His arms are just on 10 and 2 of the sundial. What's great about that is in mourning the god of revenge, it means technically there is nowhere to place revenge. Like there's nowhere to place the feeling of or the experience of, and that makes it untamable because there's no one there to handle that domain.
you can imagine in the before four times that the god of revenge could have also been the god who's like, he's like, sometimes it's like helps you get revenge, but sometimes goes, you need to calm down.
Yeah.
You need to just like,
is it revenge you're
stops
seeking
you,
here?
but also like, check that it is revenge you want, stops the revenge going too far.
Yeah.
And then like, but also it's like when it is correct, is able to. So it's like it was a multifaceted thing, but it's like now it's just untethered.
Yeah.
Which also leads to the thing was like anytime a god of something dies, that thing becomes untethered.
Oh, I like it. So I'm just a hot ball of rage and not a drop to drink. My name will be remembered forever. Oh, goody. Choose my identity wisely. Pick at least one from each list or create my own. Hmm.
Fun. I do like. So the other one is like name, gender, and flaws. I do love the list of genders.
I love the list of genders as well. It's so often that my gender is definitely just monster. Just is. Like I love it.
The list of like suggestions for gender. It's monster, witch, queer, wretched, irradiated, haunted, God's tongue, prophet, and radiant.
Oh, I'm going to make the gender radiant. Like, whether or not this character wants it, just radiant. And of the flaws, I want to say cruel.
Sure.
I think at this point, it's either cruel or it's abrasive. I feel like it's somewhere in between. I don't know if this character is just like straight up cruel.
I mean, the flaw isn't like you're not constantly cruel. It is that thing. It is like it is very easy for them to become cruel.
Yeah.
And to like fall back on cruelty.
Yeah.
As it were.
Fall back
and it's
on
like,
cruelty then.
And it could be something that you're entirely aware of, and you're like, okay, I don't want to do that. But in moments of stress and
in moments of stress and moments of difficulty, it's easier to become cruel than it is to lean into anything else.
Yeah.
And I think the name is Kai, which is Hawaiian for sea, S-E-A.
Oh, fun.
So Kai is their name.
Just the thought occurred with the gender as radiant is like you have like a gender reveal party and they cut the cake and it's just this beam of light. You're like, oh god.
And by that, it's a case of like that bright, really sometimes beautiful, sometimes just straight up painful, like the light off of water. That's their gender.
Fantastic. Where am I? That's where I want. When it's not really it's not a question in the book, but so when, because as you know, it's ultimately post-apocalyptic, and I think it's like I think it's in one of the examples it's like it's almost suggested it's like post-apocalyptic, but I think in one of it's like where how long ago is a bit nebulous. Although I think in one of the examples it's like it kind of almost suggests it's like the apocalypse was actually like 10,000 years ago.
Yes.
It's like yeah, it's post because it's just ongoing. It's like
this is
there was a moment where things went bad. This is the new reality, but it's been like that for a while.
Yes.
Do we imagine this place in its like pre-apocalypse form as a sort of like, you know, a traditional sort of like D&D-esque fantasy sort of, or is it more closer to our modern society?
I like to think of it, I think, as modern society, but if we focused on if we as people focused more on like environmentalism. So like there would be like cracked and destroyed solar panels like used as like just propping up a house or something.
When there's a literal god of the forest being like, stop it, you have to be like, okay, we're sorry.
Yeah.
We won't.
Exactly. When you've got literal gods telling you what to do, you're going to do it. So
and there's a time when everything was good at when everything was great, and they were actually properly monitoring their domains and stuff.
Yes.
You basically have people, entities, looking after that, so pollution wouldn't get too far. Like it couldn't, you just wouldn't, because there'd be someone there just like, nope.
God of Revenge will come get you.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go talk to the God of the Revenge, and it's like,
ooh,
I don't want to do that.
God of Corporate just showing up.
Oh God.
No.
God of Bureaucracy is an asshole. Just like,
I mean, this is how we end up with the Board of Education. This is how we end up there.
Yeah. Right. Because the other thing is like, there's no equipment list in this game. There's no like.
No.
It's like, you have a sword. It does this much. You're like, no.
You have exactly whatever you need, as long as the narrative allows it.
Yeah. Everyone has whatever the narrative suggests is good.
Yes.
So the next thing we have to decide is which is the god that you kill first? Which is the god that we're gonna see you in the process of killing?
Oh.
So we need to.
It's not the God of Revenge, because that's been done.
And they're dead. So the suggestion is like, co-create a deity that makes sense given the themes you're exploring, the world that you've made together, and the Godkiller's backstory. So it'll be another, like, I guess, nearby god that sort of fits in this situation that we've established. And then from there we'll work out how you got to where you are.
What if it's pestilence, the winter rot?
Yeah.
Reason being, when there has been, this was a long time ago now, but when there has been a tsunami or any kind of water-related issues, pestilence follows. People get sick from dirty water getting into wounds. People die from all of these things. And the winter rot has decided, in fact, not to take mercy, not to have mercy. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because cruelty might be the flaw, but it's not necessarily cruelty against people or cruelty against humans necessarily.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I do like, particularly as like a growing up in a coastal society where the ocean is obviously clearly important, that the god that comes, like, I know that afterwards you had something previous, then the pestilence the winter rot comes in and makes things worse potentially.
Yes.
But the winter's rot's hunger is to remove all water. They hunt.
Well,
They,
it's assimilate into a desiccated. It's, I suppose, yeah.
yeah.
Or
They well
to
they feed on lushness is the thing that's puts. But it's like,
yeah,
but the idea of creating a desiccated empire is like, oh, it's got bad. So, okay, it's bad now. But what if I took away all the water as well from you
well,
personally?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
well, that would
and
be
it kind of leaves it in the sense of like a swamp.
yeah.
It makes me think of like the difference between because I've been playing so much Baldur's Gate 3. Um, it's kind of the difference between uh the hag's place when you turn up and the hag's place when you realize, oh, hang on.
Yeah.
So that's what it turns into. That's what it becomes.
Hexa to her mycelium army. Okay, go off, I guess.
I love mushrooms.
Yeah, but it's just like, what's her true form? Well, I do like that. It's got that sort of like Shakespearean thing where it's like there's no stage directions, but when you read it, it tells you the stage directions.
Yes.
It's like it connects to her mycelium army. So there's a mycelium army.
There's a mycelium army. Yes. And that last part was an aside.
Yes. There's a degree of the winter's rot makes when there has been when something has been bad previously. If they turn up, it just like it's like a uh, force multiplier. It makes it makes the bad situation worse.
Yes.
And but it's also to a degree of like, given that you are this vengeful and cruel and angry, not child in many ways, but like
Mm,
you've sort of grown, you had this thing burning in you. This degree is like, well, I can't get the people who made it bad initially,
yes.
but you know what I've stumbled
But
onto, and
you're
who I can
around.
get?
Yeah.
The person who took advantage of those moments to make things worse.
Exactly.
That person, uh, we're going to mess up.
I will get you, I will
Oh,
find you, I will kill you. I'm going to
yeah,
start here and learn how to do it very well and steadily work my way up, quite possibly to all of the gods.
yeah. And also in the moment, like you don't necessarily. I mean, we'll build into this. Given that this is the Winter's Rod is one from the appendix, we don't need to like come up with their heart and downfall. We'll have to come up how you know about those
Yes.
and what those are, I guess, for people
Yes.
watching. But there's also a degree of like, uh, in the moment, you might not have. You might not have known this was going to work. You might not have had been like, you're just
Mm.
pissed.
How on earth is one supposed to kill a natural force?
Yeah, and so
Essentially what I'm
because
doing.
well, it's the other thing is like anyone else, like you are unique in the world. So it's like
Yes.
if you got someone else and you gave them all the information that you had on this god, and they knew all the things that you knew, and you knew about their heart, they knew about the heart, they knew about the downfall. They still couldn't kill it. It wouldn't have helped
No.
them.
Wouldn't do anything.
So it's like it was almost sort of like I just want to go out trying. I'm done. I'm done. And then at the end of it, you're still standing there going, oh, hang on.
Oh, I managed to.
Oh,
Oh.
um, so we know it's the pestilence, the winter's rot. Um, So the thing with the gods, they've got four aspects for. I don't remember what the terminology they use is. Mechanics, I guess, mechanics of godhood.
Hmm.
In that, oh no, five. I'm sorry. Is that every god has a hunger, a power, a heart, a downfall, and a curse. And the hunger is the thing, is like the thing obviously that sustains them. Uh, and it could be a tangible resource, it could be metaphysical, it could be whatever. Like,
Mhm.
um, as I said, the winter's rot, it's lushness. They feed on lushness. They want to make things a desiccated empire, and that's kind of like their. It's the equivalent of like eating and drinking and breathing for a person. Like they might not have to do it like every day, but they do need to do it. They
Yes.
need to. All gods have a power, is a manifest of essentially this unique magic that god can use, and the gods can sort of like they have mastery over this thing. They can just do stuff with it. But it is also the thing that the Godkiller gains upon defeating them.
Yes.
And you then get that ability. However, you aren't able to manifest it nearly as effortlessly as the god was. And in fact, to do miracles, as it were, as is the mechanic, you actually have to give up that power to do that thing. The gods can kind of look however they want to look, but they all have a heart, which is their true form. Mm-hmm. And so you need to know what the truest form of their divinity. One of the examples is where is it? A god of the sun may walk the cradle as a handsome woman, all brawn and golden hair and dark skin, but the heart might be the literal sun in the sky or a burning bush in the deepest desert. And you need to know what the heart is, because you actually can confront their literal self. And then you also need to know what their downfall is, which is a weakness in their godly perfection, which is what it will enable you to actually kill them. And you need to know both the heart and the downfall, so you can do basically confront the god in their true form, in their heart,
and provide the downfall,
and then do the downfall, so that the god will then you can actually kill the god. So, which is the god, because this is also be true for other gods as well. This is something that the other gods would have to do. So they know to keep both of these things very secret. They don't share this. They don't share that knowledge easily.
At least now they don't.
Yeah.
They might have before, when it was just amongst themselves.
Yeah. The ones that didn't are probably also were the first to die. And then everyone went, "Oh, we need to be a bit more careful."
Yep.
And then every god will have a curse, which is a powerful and tormentous spell that they can inflict upon their death. They don't actually. They not necessarily always have to be at their death. Like they can. There's a lot of stories about mortals and even other gods who have been cursed for trying to cross. And as I said, the curse is always "thou shalt not" something.
Yes.
And so, as an example, the pestilence, the winter's rot, has the hunger, as we said, is lushness. They want to assimilate all into a desiccated empire. Their power is rot. Mm-hmm. Their heart is a woman with long white hair that connects to her mycelium army. Her downfall is the black fire.
Yep.
And the curse is "thou shalt not help new things grow." And there are ways to break curses.
Yep.
They're not generally easy.
No.
But one of the most straightforward ways of breaking the curse is to just do it. You just do the thing that the curse says you can't do, and then you wait for the consequences. And if you survive those consequences, the curse is gone. It's like cool, but it's not great.
Why does it feel so much like trying to do a degree?
Yeah.
You get cursed not to do the thing.
Yeah.
And then if you manage to do the thing, you come out of it. It's fine. The degree's gone.
At the other end, you have a PhD. And you're just
good time.
What do I do now? And they say,
oh, you're not cursed anymore. Now what?
I do like.
You're cursed with freedom.
I do like, and I'm just looking at the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some of them. I was like,
Devil's curse. Oy.
Some of them, I was just like, some of them, their downfall is like, it's like it's not like you're like, oh, it's that. Like it might be a physical thing, it might be a more thing, but it's not. It is like, oh yeah, like one of them is like confrontation of my cowardice. You have to confront the god with their own cowardice. It's like, But I do like the black fire is not. That's not a thing. It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, but what is the black fire?
Well, I kind of have an idea for that, but
Sure,
I
but
feel
I like the fact that it's like you picked a god where we have to come up with a thing for that, or it's not just
yeah.
like, oh, it's like, oh, it's hubris. We need, yeah. So you, how did you? It's like, no. Firstly, what is the black fire? Secondly, how did you get it?
Yes. Because I have a divinity, don't I?
Oh,
Because I have to come up with a is that
uh,
I'm imbued with a divinity. What my divinity can and can't do is negotiable.
oh yeah. So
My origin
the
describes how it manifests,
so
but
sorry, but like what it actually
mm,
is I think where is it? You imbue with divinity, a font of godly magic that flows through your veins, empowering you to accomplish feats beyond the grasp of ordinary mortals. Your origin describes how your divinity manifests. Otherwise, the exact definition of your divinity has been intentionally left vague. So you sort of know that it manifests when you turn to violence against someone who slanders or mocks your pain. That is what awakens your divinity.
yes.
What that divinity specifically is, uh,
Because I feel like, for the purposes of the beginning of this story, the black fire could literally be their radiance.
the black fire is you.
Yes.
It's awkward for pestilence, but I do kind of love it.
And that's where it comes from. It becomes a case of, oh, I didn't know the downfall when I came here. I literally just came here to be rageful and wrathful at you.
Yeah. Do you know what I also love about that
Uh,
is that pestilence wouldn't have known. Like pestilence
Pestilence.
would have known what their downfall is,
Yes.
but there's potentially like their entire existence. They've been like, what is that?
Mm.
What
Yeah.
I've never been able to find out what this is. And then it's like it'd be that moment where it sort of manifests. You'd be like, oh, like there'd be an immediate
Yeah.
recognition from
Yeah.
pestilence. Is like that is like in their essence, like that's it. Ah,
Yeah. And I like that also because essentially what happens is, in that fire sort of blazes like a sun, but it is a dark, horrible sun. Like it's I don't know how to describe dark light,
yeah,
but it is that. At the very, very center of it, like almost at their heart, it's like just this pinprick of black
yeah.
and then blazing light, which kills mushrooms, kills fungi
Yeah.
because they don't like light.
It's sort of like, I mean, it's almost like this. It's kind of like it's like it is a blend. It's like, it's like, you know, you imagine like, darkness is the absence of light. Light is this thing, and you're like, yeah, but this is both. This is actually it's like darkness is its own thing. It's not darkness is not
Yes.
absence. Darkness is a thing. Light is a thing, and this is both.
Yes.
And they go, I don't understand. And then you turn it on. They go, I understand. Please stop.
Yeah.
I would like you to
Yes.
stop doing that. No, thank you. Yeah, I love that.
Which kind of also matches with revenge. It's like at the base of it, the kernel of it is just, it's kind of like saying cold fire.
Hmm. I just wrote down radiant nothingness.
Yeah, that's about right.
It's like I read it, I was like, I like that. I also no thank you. Again,
I
every part
like
of
it, but not for me.
every part of it's like, no thank you. No thank you. I'm happy that you're happy, but no thank you.
You think this is happiness?
It's like, oh, I'm not happy. It's like, um, so you've discovered, and I imagine that some of this you got from discovering the God of Revenge's corpse.
Yeah.
You sort of, and part of it could have been like upon seeing, it's like that thing of like you knew something bad was gonna happen in that moment, and it's like that same, it was kind of that same vibe. You saw it and you knew you were truly looking at this God, and you have seen gods before, but it's like no, you are actually seeing this God. You've not actually done that before.
No.
You've seen gods manifest themselves. This is seeing the God, and you're like, oh, there's a difference. And so now the concept of the heart was made aware to you,
Yes.
and so you can now seek that out. And then as you sort of looking more, and obviously as you look more into like, well, how did they actually die? Would have eventually have led you to learning about the downfall.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to sort of, and it could also be that like you were able to figure out the Winter Rot's heart, but you weren't able to find out
the downfall.
You didn't know that you were the downfall.
No.
But again, there's this sort of sense that you got was like, you should do this anyway.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, you've only found half the information you wanted, but the little feeling inside was like, do it anyway. At which point, that feeling manifests itself as the black fire, which is the downfall. And it's like, you are actually. So.
And then we'll play into that covenant of grief and be like, oh, like if this is pestilence and I managed to take out pestilence, imagine the amount of people I could have saved already. Time to kill more.
But it's also to agree. It probably get, because we're. You know what? We'll cover this after we roll for killing the god, and we'll talk, because obviously, as we talked about, it's like that moment after killing the first god comes that knowledge of like just how much changes upon killing a god, and that how maybe that's, you know, in your anger you did it, but in like once that sort of subsides, you start realizing killing the god might not always be a good choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to be a bit more careful, or not, or I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and just doesn't matter.
Yes.
But you were, you know, obviously you upon learnt the stuff you've learnt from studying the God of Revenge's corpse, you sort of turned, and the pestilence, the Winter's Rot, seemed the most vulnerable out of all the gods that you grew up around. Because they are, in many ways, they sort of act almost like a scavenger. They sort of come in after other people have done stuff, and they sort of they only sort of do stuff once people have already been beaten down by someone else.
Yes, exactly.
And so it's like, well, that looks like someone who can't as easily take action themselves, despite, you know, they despite having an army, despite having all this other stuff, they still only act in this sort of cowardly is the wrong word, but like they pick on the bones of other people.
Yes,
so it's like,
they're the vultures.
Yeah. And so you, in this sort of like, you know, literally sort of half cocked, like you've only locked in half the information you kind of wanted, but you've sort of gotten to that point where it's like you're tired of this. You just want it to end one way or the other, even if that means you you die, but you're going to scour through, and you've managed to you had to like, beat a path through this mycelian army, until you're at you find at the center the image of this woman with white hair connecting each strand, going out and connecting
to the army.
To this army. And you stand, and then in that moment again, you have that feeling of, this is what I'm truly looking at, a god now. It confirms that for you.
Yes. Just
that
beautiful, terrible.
and just sort of inhuman.
Yes.
Because some of the gods are just like, you've seen some gods just like, oh, it's just like a large person, or that's just like, and you kind of like, that's kind of whatever, but it's like, but then it's like, this person still looks like a person, but it's entirely different, and you're just like, no, this is there's not a lot of like reflection at this point. You are
I'm just doing the thing,
just deep in your anger and your hurt and your pain, and you've carved your way through this thing, and you were staring. As I said, you had that sort of feeling you should just go, which is what you started off, even though you hadn't found the downfall.
Yeah.
And you're getting that kind of that feeling, while a big part of you is thinking, I'm just going to die. This is how I end it. But there's that little thing inside you, the little feeling saying, no, you got this. You're going to get, this is going to be fine. And you are just like filled with adrenaline and anger and pain as you stare at this god. And then I would like you to describe in this moment what your character looks like, how they are feeling with all these things bubbling through them, and then what they do next.
Generally speaking, Kai wears very basic, very simple clothing. They are quite tall, 6 foot, but they hunch so much and try to look small, that so much so that they kind of almost look pathetic. But in this moment, they bring themselves up to their full height, because if they die, then they're going out doing what they feel like they probably should have done for the village way back when they were little. And so there's a feeling of, not retribution, that's not the word I'm looking for. A feeling of overcoming the fear of the first time, and of like listening to their body in a way that they didn't. If they'd listened to their body the first time, wouldn't have happened. Now they're here and they're listening to their body, and they're listening to everything and paying deep attention. That's how they look, that's how they feel. What was the last one that you said?
What do they do next?
What do they do next?
Now they are confronting this god.
So I think there's a sense of, they don't know what to do. They're here. They're facing her. They, like, what do you do at that point? They have like their little adventurous sword and their little satchel, and they're facing a god, and what do you do then? I think the feeling of helplessness, hopelessness, rage, and desire for revenge wells up. And especially the desire for revenge, like that one sort of pulls into a really small, tight, black hole sort of depth.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of explode. And it's over so quickly that it's shocking.
I think I'll add.
Mm-hmm.
So just looking at your divinity.
Mm-hmm.
I think Pestilence laughs at you upon your arrival. Like, you've done all this, you've gotten through, and it is like, it's kind of like, that's cute, but, and it's like, you're clear, it's like, it's kind of thing is like, I get it, you're pissed at something, this is,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like,
however many millions of
you know,
mortals have come to say the
it's
same
not
thing.
even, it's like, it's not even like looking at a child having a tantrum, it's like, it's even less than, it's like, you know, your friend's pet is acting up
I was
or
gonna say,
something.
it's like
It's not even,
the puppy's upset.
but it's not even your puppy. It's just like, all right. It's like, okay, but it's like, that's still a puppy. It's kind of, all right.
Yeah.
Look at it. And that's that thing, because it's the divine trigger that fully awakens this divinity. And you would see before, as I said, you just sort of dive into it. You have like a moment where you could see this, because in the same way that you felt that's when you saw the god in the heart form, it's like that's God. The god has seen its downfall,
Yeah.
and innately recognizes what it is, and it's a sort of a downfall this god has never been able to find. Like knows is in essence knows exactly what it is, has never found it, and is
Yes.
now this is the first time in their existence in this sudden moment, and it's like has that moment of like, oh, that's what it is, and then realizing what this means, and is like, then you're just on them, and it's like it's far too late at that point.
Yes.
So we get to make a move where, as I said, like in these moments you get to you choose to either kill or spare the god, because the god is, you have confronted them in their true form, you've exploited their downfall, they are at your mercy. It is, as they do recommend the first one is a kill, which we're going to go with.
Yes. Which are going to go with.
And in this is just, I don't think you add anything to the dice.
No, it's just the dice.
It's just a straight up traditional sort of like miss, hit, strong hit.
Okay. Well, I will roll the dice then. It's a miss. It's a 5.
Oh. I need to double check. So you fall upon, wreathed in this black fire, this radiant nothingness, this, you are burning them with the abyss.
Yes.
And you see it like it goes down off every single strand of hair to this. I see, and the entire army is just ablaze. And you hear screaming, but it's not the god, it's the army.
Ooh.
The army screams, the god does not. you feel rot going into you. Not like physically, but like you feel it. It's you are not rotting. The essence of rot is
me.
you. You are the
Yes.
rot.
We are the
Yeah.
rot.
Yeah. And as this god silently burns, is consumed by nothingness, they lean forward, and you aren't sure if they're like, if you heard them whisper this, or you felt them whisper this, or you just, in the same way that you are rot, if you just felt it in your being. Thou shalt not help new things grow.
Would I know that that's a curse at the time?
You might not know the terminology. You would have an innate understanding of the weight.
Right.
You might not be like, oh, this is a thing gods can do, but it is just like, no, this is a serious thing that I need to, because it's like you understand this on a you know, your soul understands that, like, no, you are not going to help new things grow. And it's like, and then they do actually, they say to you, and it's like, everything will change. I hope you're ready, Godkiller. And then they are consumed. And there's this moment where it's like a brief second where it's like, you're just like, the god, it's gone, it's done, it's over. And then it's like, it's kind of like when you like, if you like dumped like a bucket of water out, and then like when it hits the ground, it's like, it goes over there. Yes. But if you were like only watching the ground and you couldn't see it coming down, it'd be like, oh, nothing's happened, it's done, it's over. And then suddenly there's this big, and it's not something that you, it's like, it's not like, again, it's not like a visual, it's just this sort of like this, but that's sort of like, and then going out. But like, as you watch, you just see the landscape as far as your eye can see, this sort of like, and you're in the middle of this, and you were probably already in like a kind of, not like swamp, but like this desiccated forest kind of thing.
Yes.
So it wasn't exactly, but it just, all of it just rots, it crumbles, it decays. And it was sort of like this thing of like, this is probably like the worst like environment, like in terms of like the landscape, this is the worst part you've ever seen in your entire area, and you're watching it get worse. And you're watching it go out past that where it had gone before, and you just watch the landscape just decays until it's this mire. It's this sort of like, swamp is too good a word.
It's like an oil slick.
Yeah. It's the ground. It's not just that it's barren. It's just
dead.
It's like, it's dead. But it's like rotten.
Yeah.
So it's not dry and barren. It's squelchy and
it's wet and mulched.
Wet and mulchy.
Yeah.
And you can, but like, as you know, these trees fall down, you can see that it's gone beyond where it was what you have left this. You've not only was there was a scar in the word. You've now it's not it was like a scar, but it was like it was a scar that's long since healed, but it's not ever going to get better. Now it's gotten much worse, and it's like this sort of like pussy wound.
I've made an error.
And it is as that rage, as that adrenaline falls away from you, and you just watch it happen, powerless to stop it.
So I'm standing in the center of it.
Yeah, and it just goes out. Well, out from where the god was, but that is where you are.
Yeah.
But in that also, the other thing you moment is that realization of what we talked about before, is that upon that god's death, their domain becomes untethered. So while the god wasn't, none of the gods really are maintaining their domains in any way that they should be. Like they're not doing it.
They're not doing their job.
Partly because they don't have time to anymore. They're literally focused solely on survival.
Yeah.
So the domain wasn't in a great place, but now it's completely untethered. And so pestilence and rot are no longer at all contained by this god.
Shit. Does it stop at a point? Or does it just keep going?
It sort of tapers off, but like you've sort of more than doubled like the radius of this area. So,
and this area is not ever going to be able to be used.
And it's just like, no, this is. But also, you're sort of like, you also try to think there's probably communities that were within what is this new, that they're just
right.
You don't know what's happened to them, but they might have just been destroyed.
Rotted.
They might have just rotted and gone, or they're at the very best they cannot live here anymore. But worst case, they are just as rotted as the landscape was, which you won't be able to know until you go until you leave and go back into the world.
Which is immediately what I would do. Is try to find the limits, the boundaries of this.
Yeah. You'd find ultimately that, as I said, it's like you've sort of doubled the damaged land. Where there were communities, like any buildings or food stuff is gone. Healthy people were okay.
Right.
But people who were in any way sick got rapidly worse. So, and depending on who they were, some of them are like, they're now just much sicker than they were, but in time they might be fine. Some of them, that was what tipped, but for some, that tipped them over the edge, and that was too much. And so there are numerous people who have died. And, you know, particularly like elderly people who were sick, or if they were, or young, or if they were the very old and the very young, whose bodies just weren't capable of handling that sudden uptick of illness.
I think in that time, I think from there, Kai would leave that place or get as far away as possible, because that curse is too frightening at first to do anything with.
I think in terms of like, so this was like a god within the area which you lived in a general sense, but you did have to travel a ways to get to them, because they are definitely on the outskirts of the area that you would know of. Not even that you're familiar, just the area you know of. They're on the very outskirts, and they would encroach and then go back.
Yes.
So you've essentially, in increasing this area, you haven't in all the places that you are actually familiar with, were outside of that because they were just much further away.
Yeah.
But you have brought that border.
It's closer
right now to their, not literally to their doorstep, but it is like it is now the thing where it's like there's a whole area you have to travel a long way to get to the blighted area. Now the blighted area is worse, and it's there. It's like we can see it now. I'm just going to double check there isn't anything else the Crucible move needs. I guess that there might also be like there is a degree like because obviously it's like you've done something that no one else has ever done. That was amazing.
Yeah.
But I think in the fact there's an inherent part of you, your divinity, there is this understanding that went badly. Not that it went badly, but this extended blight is not part of the it went badly. Like that was you killed a god, and
that was just you did it.
You kill a god, and it doesn't. It's like that is going to cause irrevocable change, and it's like it went badly, but it's like the curse is the bad part. The blighting of the land is a result. Is just what happened. Is that there is always just transformative change upon death of a god.
Okay. Huh.
And I think
because
I think you're supposed to ultimately start with passive divinity. I think the act of killing it has like the god activated divinity. The act of killing it is essentially
awakened.
In mechanical terms, was the unleashing your divinity to actually enable you to kill the god. So your divinity has gone back to being passive.
Yes.
But you are now obviously aware of what it is and what it
can do.
And yes, and like, well, you're probably getting a sense of its scope rather than like, I understand this. It's like, no.
I just turn into a blazing sun for a brief moment. It's like a flash, like flash photography, but like
I do
bad.
I do kind of love just looking at it now that obviously your divinity is the black fire, which was the downfall of the pestilence. There is another god whose power is the black flame, which is clearly an entirely different thing.
Yes.
Like, that's not the same.
No. But we might team up one day.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Like, that would be if you ever come across that god.
Okay. Oh. However, the people in the town that I came from, or the nearest village to my village, how are they for pestilence? How are the sick people that are there, that are outside of that radius, outside of that range?
It does feel like outside of that area, like inside the area, everything got worse. Outside of that, it's not as clear cut. Like for some people just got better.
Right.
There'll be places where people just like someone who was on death's door is now healthy. It's maybe healthier than they've been for years. Some people, like there are crops that were going to fail because of like blight or because of disease are now healthy and bountiful. So outside that, like essentially it's like if you imagine like there was this epicenter where everything was just bad.
Yes.
But then beyond that, everything is untethered. And so in some cases, like healthy plants got sick, in other places, sick plants got better. and some places nothing happened, and
Okay.
they aren't even, and maybe like there's this sort of like maybe sort of every single person has this sense of like something happened, but like I don't,
But we don't know what.
and maybe like someone got sicker, but it wasn't like so much sicker that like their 24-hour cold became a 48-hour cold or something. So it's like
Right.
yeah, that's whatever. But like for some people, it's like it was a miraculous change or a devastating change. It's much more random, and the further out it goes, the lesser. It was like a sort of if you were to travel further and further out, it would probably the extent of the change would be not so much, and then moving forward, people might not even really notice the difference, but you would sort of see that it's like pestilences become almost more random. There's no one even.
There's no one tending it in a
There's
direction.
no one even near the rudder anymore. Before someone could actually count and tap it and do something. It's like now it's like now sickness is just a thing that happens. It's not something that's controlled by an entity.
Okay. I'm going to see that as an overall positive. Because if there's not a god that's like doing things to people, then it's entropy. Entropy is okay. Entropy is good.
There's no longer someone using that as a means of control over mortals, which
and there's
they
no
absolutely
one,
were before.
Yes, as control and food. Like we are not a food source. Okay. I'm willing to take the curse in exchange for people outside of me having good experiences, I guess. If I was willing to die for it, then
it is that moment of like you expect to be dead. What now?
I expect it to be dead, and instead I can't help new things grow. Okay, cool. I mean, what did I expect to happen anyway?
So I'll see if I can. Curses. Where are we? There are 3 known ways to break a curse. And this is the thing. I was like, this might be like knowledge that is around, but it's more sort of like it's one of those things where it's like it's a story people told, and you're now like, well, hang on, what were those stories again? Remind me.
I think I'd go searching out that heretic.
Yeah,
go visit the heretic and find out what he.
Because obviously the first way that we said is just to violate it. You just do the thing, and there's a move for that. Where is the move? Violate a curse. So you violate the terms of curse. You have to answer one of 3 things, which is what shatters beyond repair, what mutates beyond recognition, what shifts beyond your reach. You answer one of those. I answer another one, describing how the curse surges forward to claim its due. And then at the end of it, you don't have the curse anymore. But the whole it is supposed to be terrible. It's supposed to be terrible consequences, essentially.
Yes.
And it is actually, I'm pretty sure that's how it works, because when they actually describe it later, it seems to suggest that you pick one and then I describe the other 2. But I don't think that's in like the description, but in the actual thing, it's like you pick one, I pick one. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
I think it's pick one. Yeah, the GM will answer one other.
Yeah, but underneath it goes, your GM will pick 2 to answer themselves. In the and I'm like, I think that's like
I'm
a
looking
typo
at
or like
the moves sheet, so I think on the sheet it just says it's the one.
So in the book, the bit that they put in the sheet says that as well.
Right.
The bit underneath, which goes into describing it, says 2, and it's like, I think that's a mistake, because I feel like the one in the ability is correct. So that's, you can just do that. You just like, and there's probably stories of people doing that and it being a terrible idea. It's like, there'd be numerous stories of mortals and gods who are cursed, who violated that curse, and the moral of the story is don't do that.
Don't do that.
The second is what they describe as making yourself vulnerable. You beseech a god for favor, because no god will lift a curse without a price, and you should be immensely wary of any who promise that they would do it without a price, because there will always be a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a third way, which is complicated and rare. Some curses have special cures, like a sort of a true love's kiss situation.
Yeah.
And so to learn that, you have to travel to a holy site, you have to consult a prophet or divine omens, and then I will tell you what the unusual method is to cure it. However,
This one.
the answer could be sorry.
Yeah.
There isn't a way to. There isn't some weird little loophole cure. You only have the other two options.
Yeah.
Then those are the main three that you've sort of stories. You have now entered the realm of gods. There's probably other ways to do stuff.
Yeah.
But like those are special and
I think in the case of this, having seen what they've done, I would immediately try to violate the curse.
Oh yeah.
Just immediately, because now there's no rot. There should be no rot. The only one that has, and I don't even know if they're entirely aware of it, but the only one that has the ability to rot is them.
I would say, I think that's like immediately, as in like you're watching this blight spread out. In that moment, you're like, I know inherently what my curse is. I'm just gonna break that.
I'm going to break it.
You can't. In that moment, you can't.
Mm.
Not like you definitely try, but
Yeah.
you are at the epicenter of this blight. You are literally where you are standing in that moment. You are literally incapable.
No. I meant when leaving. Like, sorry, not immediately. I meant like the first thing that they do upon realizing that it has a boundary is to step outside that boundary.
Sorry, I thought you were like upon watching it being like, no, nuts to this.
Nope.
Like,
nope.
No, you were literally you were standing in a spot where you literally can't make things grow.
Yes.
That's not a curse. That's just where you are. No, I see what you mean. Right.
No. I think that's the first thing that they would try to do is just get out of it. That you can't tell me what to do. You're dead. Like, not understand that it is very, very deep and very much in this, like sitting on their soul, but still be like, well, no.
I mean, there's also a degree of like you're very much you're in new territory or anything.
Yeah.
There's a degree of like, I'm just going to do it. Again, like in the same sense of like, I'm going to attack a god. I don't know what's going to happen. And then you see what happened and go, oh no. It's like, I'm just going to break the curse. What's the worst that could happen? Oh.
What's the worst that can happen if I go against this? I'm not dead.
Yeah.
It's not like I have family to care about. It's not like I have anything like that. I have my one bestie in their village, but like, that's it. So I'm gonna like do that. What shatters beyond repair is going to be the question that I answer there. So I think they managed to make something grow in their home village.
Yeah.
It takes weeks to like see a sapling grow. Like, just try to get a tiny little bud above ground. But I think what shatters is they had an amulet from their mum, and it just breaks into hundreds of pieces.
This is like the only thing you had that still connected you to directly to your mum, to your family in general, to your village.
Yes.
the only thing you really had, and it just crumbles to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that mutates beyond recognition is people's goodwill towards you. As in that moment, everyone that you know that have met you, that you've grown up with, that you are around,
Mm-hmm.
knows you are the reason for the blight.
Mm.
Everyone you will go on to meet will have that inherent understanding of the devastation you have caused. And while you might be able to rebuild that goodwill in this moment, it, like the amulet, is gone. And it will you'll never anything you have had, and you'll never start with it.
Sorry? Never.
You
You'll never.
you never start with it. You never have like upon any time, even the first time you've met someone, they will know on some level that you have caused this blight, this devastation, that you have made sickness get weird, and that it's your fault.
Yep.
And like the longer it goes on, the more you meet people who have just never met you, that might not be a direct understanding. That might not be like, this is why I feel, but everyone will have that sense of unease and not unkindness, but like unwillingness to be, to help us, like that in that
Everyone wants me to. Everyone.
Yeah.
People might be polite, but they want me to leave.
Everyone's initial reaction to you is not hostile, but it's not welcoming either.
Mm.
But some people might tamp that down. Others, you can obviously win them over. But like the blight as well, it starts off the strongest around where you are and goes out. So all these people in these surrounding areas that have known you, but this includes your friend.
Yeah.
They have it as that they have a very complete understanding of why they now feel that way towards you.
Mm. Well, thus begins a journey. Because I'm not staying where I was raised. I have nothing tethering me to it now.
And like I said, you could, like, they haven't forgotten. It's not like they
No.
haven't. It's not like it's like, but it has like, you could rebuild it if you wanted to. But in this moment,
Yes.
that would take a lot of time and a lot of effort to sort of.
I think in this moment, managing to grow something in that village is enough and has to be enough. And it's the only thing they'll leave there of themselves.
Is also
And
this,
now,
like, final spitting in this god's eye. It's like, it's what I think of your curse kind of thing.
yeah. And that's when they'll just leave. They're gone from this place for now. They might come back, but right now they can see that they are a danger because they know that the job's not done. Like, pestilence is gone, but like, what else comes after? What else comes? You get pestilence. I mean, I don't think we're at the point of killing death. I feel like that's kind of end gamey.
Yeah. There's a sort of degree of, and we can. I don't know how long have we been going at this point.
We should probably finish in like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. So that feels like, because it does feel like a good place to sort of wrap up.
Yeah.
And we'll sort of, don't know how many sessions we'll do, but maybe try and kill him, like at least another god.
Yeah. Kill another god or two.
And get into, because it is like, I do quite like the way this was set up. That first, you know, there's a degree of like session 0 built into that first session, but it is sort of like, it is still a good way to sort of get a sense of the world. And
yeah,
I do very much like that you just immediately broke the curse. You're like, nope, stuff you.
No,
how dare you?
No, absolutely not.
And I was like, oh god.
Exactly, and it's also it's entirely the thing of like, I've already been cursed. Look at my life. Yeah. I've already been. What more can you possibly do? Oh, turns out you can take more from me.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Now my revenge has been stoked. Yeah, this is a fun game. I want to see more of the way that the gods manifest. Like I feel like that would be fun. Next session is to like interacting with God versus interacting with person, and what, like, how does that manifest? How is that different between the two?
Yeah.
Mechanically and practically, I guess.
So I think, as you said, like, you seek out the heretic. Like, we might start. That's probably where we begin. Next session.
Yeah. We make a note. Sweet. Okay. Well, let's finish up there for today.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I always do love, like, you know, you get sort of like, when you do things like this, it's like you start piecing something and go, oh, but that might mean, and that could be, that that might mean this, and that might mean this. And
absolutely. It all came together so quickly.
I really like that. Yeah, the idea of just like of the domain becoming untethered. I was just like, oh,
ooh,
that's it's a really simple and excellent way of being like, this is why you might not want to kill the god.
Exactly. Like, if someone's not handling this, you
maybe
might want to.
It's like someone doing a bad job might be better than someone doing no job.
But then also someone, like, now, technically speaking, the only one that has the ability of pestilence is Kai. Practically speaking.
Yeah, and that's, again, like, the power just says rot, but it's the god of pestilence, so it's like, well, all right.
What now?
There's a lot of that. You take that power at its like most broad interpretation.
Yes.
And I do also like that the more you actually do get better with because one of the modifiers for the using of powers is you have used the power in this way perfectly before. So so once you actually have manifested it in a certain way, it becomes easier because you're like, okay, I know how to
use this. I can do this.
That particular manifestation of the power.
Yes.
I can do that a bit better next time. And you grow it sort of like that way, but it's like it's never as innate as it is for the god.
It's always a bit of work. So it's almost like, well, I can see that this place has too much of this thing.
Yeah. But it's also the thing where it's like, obviously, it's like, you know, you can create rot, but you can also take it away. You can.
Yes.
You can do.
I can now remove water from places.
Yeah. Remove water. Fun. Fun, fun,
Yeah,
fun.
very fun. Okay, I'm gonna let's end this stream. We'll just keep talking. We'll keep talking forever.
Yes. Well, whenever the next one is, we'll see you
Whatever the
then.
next one is, we'll see you then.
Yeah.
Sometime, I'm sure it'll be sometime in the next month.
Wow, we'll try.
I'm making it up. I don't
Yeah,
know. We'll see you when we see you.
we'll try to be consistent.
Yeah. Bye.